In this video, we'll be looking at the biopsychosocial model and applying that to stress. Specifically in this video, we'll be looking at just the biological perspective, and this will include the fight-flight response and the HPA axis. So the biological perspective looks at what are our physiological, so our physical responses to stress. The fight-flight response looks at the initial physiological reactions when we experience stress, and it basically describes the patterns of involuntary bodily changes that occur when we first become aware of an acute stressor. So when the body registers that there is a stressor there, the fight-flight response basically prepares our body to either fight, so to stay there and to confront the stressor, or to flight. So these changes occur within the first few seconds, and they include things like increased heart rate and blood pressure, redistribution of blood supply from the skin and intestines to the muscles, so you can prepare to either run or fight, increased respiration rate, so taking in more oxygen, dilated pupils to take in as much light as possible, and suppression of functions that are not immediately essential in order to conserve energy. So things such as digestion and your sexual drive will be suppressed. These physiological responses are due to our sympathetic nervous system being activated, which you should remember back in Unit 3 when we were looking at the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. These responses occur within seconds, and once the threat has passed, the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and it calms down and restores the body to normal functioning. The other thing that might happen physiologically when we encounter a stress is the activation of something called the HPA axis. So the HPA system, or the HPA axis, stands for the hypothalamic pituitary adrenocortical axis, and it involves those three areas. So the hypothalamus, which stimulates the pituitary gland which then secretes hormones into the blood, such as adrenocorticotropic hormone, which is shortened to ACTH, and then that then stimulates the adrenal cortex, which then secretes additional stress hormones, including cortisol. And cortisol's main effect is to energize the body. So this system is activated when the stressor is not removed shortly after it is there, or when we need to deal with stress over a longer period of time. So when the stressor is there for a longer period of time, your body can't maintain the fight-flight response for that long, and so the HPA axis then kicks in, and the effects of this might actually last between minutes and hours, particularly if the stress is perceived as acute or leading into chronic. So there are physical effects of the HPA axis being activated. If it is activated for a long period of time, so when you have chronic stress, it can actually cause both short-term and long-term adverse physiological effects. So when you are stressed for a long period of time and your body is constantly pumping in these stress hormones, particularly cortisol, you might experience things such as dizziness, aches, pains associated with muscle tensions, heart palpitations, skin rashes, fatigues, and just generally feeling unwell. It might also then lead to cardiovascular diseases, such as things that involve the hardening of arteries, reduced efficiency of the immune systems, and diabetes, as well as mental health problems and disorders such as depression and anxiety. So it is really important that we do have some stress in our lives when we were looking at the difference between eustress and distress. However, chronic stress or distress, as you can see, leads to long-term health effects here, particularly if your immune system is down, and then obviously your body will keep encountering more sicknesses. So long-term stress is a terrible thing, and we'll be looking at what are some of the psychological and social effects of it in the next few videos.